Hey everybody, and welcome to another segment of AstrologyAnswers.com's weekly forecast. My name is Terence. The week begins on Monday, February the 26th, 2024. This is a very active week astrologically, mostly very upbeat, positive energies and a lot of social energies because of Venus. But let's start with Monday the 26th. The moon, which sets the public tone, the public reactions, will be in Virgo, but void of course. And as I mention every week, for the void of course, stick to your routine, but don't introduce anything new because the energy tends to be flat and unproductive. So Monday starts off with the moon void of course in sensible, practical Virgo until 6:30 a.m. Pacific time, at which point the moon goes into Libra. Libra is a sign of cooperation, of socializing. It's very cooperative, diplomatic energies. Now, as the moon goes into Libra, it's going to be in harmony with intense, powerful Pluto by mid-morning Pacific time. That could be where you can really express your feelings, the moon, in very deep, heartfelt ways. The last half of the day, Pacific time, assertive, ambitious Mars will be squaring expansive, optimistic Jupiter. This is all very positive energies if you keep everything more sensible and with moderation. If you try to go after some big projects over the top because you're feeling really optimistic, you had these inflated expectations. You may going to have to really cut back and be frustrated. But if you keep sensible and realistic, a lot can be accomplished. On Tuesday, the moon continuing in harmonious Libra will be in harmony with pleasure-seeking Venus. Venus is also the planet that rules the sign Libra. So to have emotional moon in Libra in harmony with Venus, this will be late morning Pacific time. This is very favorable for relationships, for socializing, it's a real friendly kind of atmosphere. But the moon is going to go void of course at 10:22 a.m. in Libra, but it's going to be there through the next day, Wednesday, until 7:10 p.m. This is a very long period. It's unusual for the moon to be void of course that long. Now, so as we go into Wednesday, the moon is void till 7:10 p.m. Pacific time, at which point it moves into Scorpio. Now, Mercury, the planet of decision-making, planning, discussions, is going to be crossing over serious, pragmatic Saturn. The Sun will also be crossing over the Saturn as the Sun and Mercury are hovering close to each other. Now, this could be a day of a lot of worries and frustrations, a lot of challenges, especially if you're trying to get anything moving forwards and the moon is void of course. You need to just stick to your routine. It's best for introspection, for reflection, for resting. Please not on Wednesday with the moon void of course all day and the sun Saturn. Do not try to launch any important new projects because it'll just be more problems than it's worth. It will certainly be this kind of hitting a wall, not being able to make much progress. Then 7:10 p.m. Pacific time, the moon goes direct again in Scorpio. Now, Scorpio is this intense, passionate, all or nothing. Libra energy, it's like it wants to be all things to all people, wants to be very compromising. But when it comes Scorpio, the energy in Scorpio is not compromising. It is all or nothing. It's also wanting to be more private, where Libra tends to be more sociable. So on Thursday, as the moon continues in Scorpio, the first half of the day, Pacific time, communication discerning Mercury will be in harmony with optimistic, expansive Jupiter. Jupiter, in some ways, is the higher vibration of Mercury, where Mercury can represent writing, say writing a book, and the Jupiter would be the publishing of the book. Now, Mercury can be short-distance traveling, and Jupiter can represent long-distance traveling. So to have these two planets that have a lot in common and in harmony with each other, this could be very favorable for making long-range plans, especially travel plans, especially it's a good day for traveling. Anything that deals with education, because Mercury is all that learning, Jupiter can be higher education. This would be very favorable for marketing, publishing, launching a new website, updating your website. And the moon in Scorpio, which is all this intensity, is actually going to be making very harmonious transits to the Saturn and the Sun and Pluto from mid-afternoon Pacific time until early afternoon, or early evening Pacific time. So Thursday is a really favorable day. And to get something really started with a more positive, fortunate outcome, if you can get it started the first half of the day, Pacific time. Now, Friday will be March the 1st, and the moon will be in opposition or confrontation to with Uranus, unpredictable, liberating Uranus. That's going to be mid-morning, around 10 to 11 a.m. Pacific time. Now, the first half of the day on Friday, also Pacific time, the Sun will be in harmony with Jupiter. Actually, Thursday evening, the Sun begins to, Pacific time, the Sun begins to be in harmony with Jupiter. But on March the 1st, the whole first half of the day, Pacific time. So the Sun is putting a real spotlight on Jupiter, expansion, optimism, learning, traveling. And so back to the late morning with the emotional moon that represents the public reactions being triggered by Uranus. Moon Uranus could trigger some really unexpected excitement. And so I'm looking at this as more positive, because sometimes Moon Uranus could be these unexpected upsets. But I think for most of you, it's going to be these exciting energies and surprises, because the Sun, the first half of the day, is putting a spotlight on Jupiter. And Jupiter is very fortunate, very optimistic, very lucky. So I think the Moon Uranus is going to bring some really exciting news. On Saturday, the moon is going to go void of course at 11:48 p.m. on Friday, Pacific time. And so on Saturday, March the 2nd, the moon is void until 5:57 a.m. Pacific time, at which point the moon, the public moon, goes into Sagittarius. So you're going to see a big shift of energies. Scorpio can be even more very private, very introspective, very intense. There's also could be this a quality of being of this brooding energies. But when it goes into Sagittarius, Sagittarius is ruled by the planet Jupiter. When the moon is in Sagittarius, the tone is more outgoing, more friendly, more adventurous, more playful. And by mid-morning, 8:10 a.m. Pacific time, that moon in Sagittarius will be in harmony with powerful transformational Pluto. So even though you're in the tone is much more outgoing and playful with the moon in Sagittarius, when it's excellent with Pluto, you're able to really express your feelings in very upbeat, positive ways, but very profound ways. And so it's going to be very favorable energies on Saturday evening, wherever you are in the world, because with that Sag energy, it's very outgoing, it's very playful. So we end the week on Sunday, March the 3rd, and moon is still in outgoing, playful Sagittarius, but pleasure-seeking Venus, that planet of relationships, will be triggering Uranus. Venus-Uranus can bring in an unexpected sudden infatuation. And if you're an artist, you might be more inspired to take a new path, having some new original approaches and ideas to your artwork. But Uranus also rules friendships and group activities. So Venus to Uranus on Sunday is really, and with the moon and Sag, really favorable for gathering your friends, hanging out, going to a party, and maybe even making some new friends or having a sudden rush of infatuation. I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you next week with my next segment. Until then, be safe and well.